Global human rights organization Amnesty International has revealed how hundreds of thousands of Zimbabwean citizens have been left stateless in their own country. The report, titled "We Are Like Stray Animals," details how Zimbabwe's nationality laws have marginalized thousands of descendants of migrant workers and their families. The document reveals the current statelessness crisis in Zimbabwe is rooted in history, when the former colonial government largely depended on cheap migrant labor from neighbouring countries to work in its industries. Let's discuss more on this report. I'm joined by Amnesty International's Deputy Director for Southern Africa, Muleya Mwananyanda. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Tell us more about your findings when it comes to these stateless people.
Yes, so although there are various people who may be stateless, our report mainly concentrated on two groups of historically marginalized people, including generations of migrant workers and their families, and thousands of survivors of the horrific Gukurahundi massacres in the 1980s. Now, in terms of the migrant workers, their statelessness has its roots, as you correctly said, in colonial history, as the British colonial authorities largely depended on cheap migrant labor from Malawi, Mozambique, and Zambia to grow its industries. And so they were brought in en masse to contribute to the economy, as well as in order for them to pay poll taxes that were imposed on them to force them to work in these industries. So after independence in 1980, Zimbabwean authorities passed a series of discriminatory laws which have over the years effectively excluded marginalized and disenfranchised descendants of these workers. So, for example, we found that the 1984 Citizenship Act was used arbitrarily to deprive persons of foreign origin of their right to Zimbabwean nationality by asking them to renounce their foreign nationality by the end of 1985. Now, despite this, they were granted special dispensation allowing them to vote in 1990, 1995, and 2005. So one can also see that most of these denials were also related to major political events in the country. Even though they received, our research found that even though they received this special dispensation, that did not necessarily give them the right to Zimbabwean citizenship when they went to the registry offices, because when they would appear at the registry offices, the registry officials would then deny them their Zimbabwean citizenship documents. And then the second category of people relates to the victims of the Gukurahundi massacres. So as you know, special forces of the 5th Brigade carried out atrocious attacks against people in Matabeleland, and an estimated 20,000 people were killed between 1983 and 87. Amnesty International has documented these over the years. So thousands were tortured and abducted, women were raped, and homes destroyed. So when the crackdown was over, traumatized survivors had to grapple with the challenges of statelessness, as they were required to produce death certificates as proof that their parents were nationals. However, death certificates for people in the Gukurahundi operation were not issued, because this would have been an admission on the part of the authorities that they had killed the people, meaning that those who were orphaned as a result of the violence had no way of proving their parents' nationality. So they continue to suffer.
I mean, I was going to say, I mean, that's the thing. If you're stateless, I mean, you have no rights. And can I hazard a guess that the government is doing very little to address this?
Yes. So without the necessary ID documents, as you say, many stateless children are unable to access education, and many stateless women are also unable to access maternal health services. Those who attend hospitals are sometimes turned away, as was the case with one woman called Boshiwe Dube, who gave birth to all her children at home because they said she was not a national, and so she could not be treated at the hospital. So she's the one that actually said that her children are like stray animals because nobody cares about them. And then children are often not able to complete their O-level education or tertiary education because they drop out as they're prevented from sitting exams, their final exams. Now, what the Zimbabwean authorities...
I'm apologizing to you here. I have to jump in. We have run out of time. I mean, I know for a fact that in your report you also chastised the government for not doing enough. Muleya, thank you very much for talking to us about this.